And as they would take all 3 points to very much keep their hopes alive of qualifying from the group. Let's just take a look at how the group stands, shall we? Earlier in the day, we saw Newcastle lose away against the Borussia Dortmund. We'll reflect on that and the chances of who's getting out of the group. But as it stands, it's Dortmund who are top, PSG, Milan and then Newcastle. Still very much all to play for in what is the marquee group in this Champions League round. Before we discuss, Greg, who's going through, let's welcome in, shall we, Frank Leboeuf. I almost forgot Frank. Frank is here as well. But Craig, overall, Milan deserved it.
Those stats are a little bit misleading, the possession stats, because PSG didn't do enough with the ball. And this was a completely different Milan side. And you were saying, Shaka, during those highlights about Rafael Leao and the criticism, and maybe you didn't understand. I think it's the fact that he does turn it on, but not enough. And there's a laziness about his play sometimes, almost switches off, particularly defensively. Now, when he's got the game head on, he's so big, powerful, quick and talented that he's hard to play against. But guess what? There's two sides to the game. And they did that a lot better tonight. I thought Loftus-Cheek arguably had his best game for Milan. And I cannot believe we're still seeing the type of goals we were seeing at this level from Olivier Giroud. Yeah. You would have thought, having achieved what this guy has achieved in the game for club and country, at his age, you're like, do you know what? But he still has the guts, the bravery, the desire to attack these balls. The way he attacked Skriniar was incredible. Yes, they switched off. Yeah, it was a great ball in from Hernandez, a terrific ball in. But yeah, from back to front to middle, Milan were a completely different side to the side that were in Paris. And I thought thoroughly deserved to take all 3 points.
It's funny old game, because they were rubbish at the weekend as well, Milan. People started questioning the future of the coach, and yet they go in and they put in this sort of performance.
And that's what's frustrating about Milan, about Rafael Leao, that you see that there is indeed the potential for this team to be this version, to be a team that is going to fight, that is going to show endeavor, that is going to show work rate. In the case of Rafael Leao, as impressive as his goal might have been, what I really like from him today is that there was work to be done defensively, and he was covering the ground defensively to the point to where he won possession back, and now he's bringing the ball up with that long stride that he has. You see all the talent in full display from him, and you see it from Milan in fighting for every challenge, in fighting for every ball, defending. The way that they control killing Mbappe down that right-hand side or the left-hand side with Calabria and Reinders just coming over in a 2v1 situation, how they're working side to side, how they're working together in tight spaces. It was an impressive performance defensively for Milan, but I think most impressive of all is the fight that the team showed, that they don't always show. But they showed it today, and it was good enough to win the game against PSG.
And they kept PSG so quiet, Shaq.
They did. Listen, I thought this was an amazingly open game, given that we're talking about the 4th game of a group stage. It seemed like both these teams just left it all out on the line and were willing to take chances. I thought both goalkeepers played particularly well. Both teams, the game really was end-to-end, and maybe that fed into some of AC Milan's strengths and some of PSG's weaknesses. In that, I thought at times they found themselves very exposed. So that being said, listen, I thought it made for a very entertaining game of football, and I'm in agreement with the boys here. One that AC Milan fully deserved to win.
Frank, how disappointed were you with PSG overall today?
Oh, big time. Big time, because at the beginning that was quite encouraging when I saw the commitment that the players were in, but after he vanished, and completely vanished, and I barely saw the 3 at front. Mbappe was, I would say, mostly inexistent the whole game with Colomwani. And Dembele is crazy. I want to call him, I've nicknamed him Almost. It's almost that you shoot, almost that you score, almost that you take on. There is something always missing with Dembele. That's crazy. But overall, I would say, and Ali mentioned that, the non-fighting spirit, the non-grinta that you need at that level to win the 4th game, which is the important game of the group stage, they weren't there at all. The second goal that you see, yes, the cross is perfect from Theo Hernandez. Yes, the header is fantastic from Giroud. But the team, Paris Saint-Germain team, stopped playing because they thought of, or they wanted to believe that the ref going to give something. And you can check on the Newcastle Paris Saint-Germain Burns goal that they do the same. They stop playing at that level. They believe that stopping playing will push the ref to give a free kick. unbelievable. I saw that, and they showed on French TV the goal they conceded at Newcastle, exactly the same action, and they conceded the goal by Burn. That's unacceptable. That wasn't enough, and for sure, if they want to go through, they will have to find that fighting spirit, because otherwise they're gonna win maybe against Newcastle, maybe. But depending on the result of Milan and Dortmund, they will have to go to Dortmund, and that will be another story.
When you're at home and the crowd are with you and you're controlling a game, and there isn't this expectation and pressure, I think it's a lot to ask of this midfield. The oldest is Vitinho at 23, Ugarte, the Uruguayan, is 22, Zaire Emery is 17. All very talented, but that's a lot to ask. You look at all the other teams in Europe, they've all got at least one or two really experienced players in there, whether it be Man City, whether it be Real Madrid, whether it be Barca, who've got a lot of kids, but they've got Gundogan at the moment because Frankie de Jong's out. All these teams have at least a bit of experience in there and now to go, right, you know, this is what we do in these scenarios. And I think that's going to be a big ask for them. I think it'll be enough to get them through. But I think tonight we saw a talented midfield, but one that is going to get left sort of on its own by some of this front three. And when you're at a place like the San Siro, where it was jumping tonight, and they did want to fight, I think that's the difficult ask when your oldest player in there is 23 years old.
But it's no surprise, is it, that Dembele, Muani and Mbappe aren't helping out this midfield. So Luis Enrique surely has to preempt that.
The frustrating part, and Frank mentioned it with a guy like Dembele, is that this is not new. See, I could have told you this a couple of years ago. He was doing this with Barcelona, the one in which he gets the crowd off their seat, but then they have to sit back down because they're not going to celebrate because the final product wasn't there. And you're seeing that from him as part of a characteristic of his game. It's who he is. Kolo Muani is still trying to figure out what his role is in this team. And Kylian Mbappe, I think today he was all too happy to be quiet. He did have a clear opportunity in the first half where he gets in behind a ball played in by Kolo Muani and he gets it all wrong. It could have been perhaps the chance that puts PSG up to 1. Maybe that changes the nature of this game. In terms of what you do with these guys, you're willing to accept that they're not going to give you all the work that you need defensively if indeed there is productivity in what they do in the final third. But if they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing or what you expect them to be doing in terms of that productivity, then yes, it does put a lot of pressure on this midfield and it does put a lot of pressure on the structure of the team. And this is what I'll say about PSG. There is very little structure to this team. This is not a team. This is essentially what we saw last year with Mbappe, Neymar, and Messi with lesser players. Dembele, lesser player. Kolo Muani, lesser player than both Messi and Neymar. And what's behind, while there is youth and there is a lack of experience, there's still not enough structure to this group in order to withstand these three guys working by themselves here, not helping back, and therefore having Ugarte running around all over the place, or Zaire Emery running out all over the field, or whoever it may be. Whoever is in those positions, they're going to be under pressure. Whether it's youth or experience, they're going to have to cover a lot of ground because these guys are not covering the ground for them.
Why was Mbappe so quiet today, Frank?
That's a real question. That's a good question. You know, I thought with Calabria and the way that Calabria behaves defensively, I would have thought that he will try to take him on all the time because he's faster, he's more powerful than him. Calabria will track his tricks as a real Italian, but it won't work because he will make so many fouls. But he didn't try anything. Yes, of course, Tomori was helping Calabria out and covered him, but it wasn't enough. He was getting the ball, doing like 2 tricks in front of Calabria, then giving the ball back. It was like he didn't want to play that game. Yeah, the pitch wasn't good. The grass wasn't perfect, wasn't English, I would say, but he didn't try. I think he didn't like the atmosphere, didn't like the game, and he gave up. And that's not fair to his teammates, not fair to the viewers as well, and to his football. I was very disappointed. I say, at least you have to try a little bit.
Depends what side,
isn't it?
Yeah, but it is. But he is pretty pathetic a lot of the times in his attitude. Don't depends what Kylian Mbappe fancies. He's created this monster that people have allowed, and because he's so talented, he knows he can get away with it, and he knows he'll get this big move. Let me tell you something. He'll put it in when he fancies it. I tell you why. He knows they might win League On this year, probably will. It's not going swimmingly at the moment. But I tell you what he does know, that they won't win the Champions League. He knows they're not going to win it. And so he'll
But what sort of professional attitude is
Well,
that? Surely it's like, I'm the
listen.
best player in the world, I can help this team win the Champions League.
He knows they're not going to win this. No chance, right? So he's up and down like a yo-yo, trust me.
I think a lot of PSG struggles in the attacking third leans into what Ali was talking about. I think the front three rely on their pace. And once that ball in behind wasn't on, once AC Milan figured out that all PSG's creativity is about finding that space in behind to pick out Mbappe, and once you cut that off, there's nothing is going to happen. There's not a lot else is going to occur. And to Ali's point, when you had Neymar and had Messi, and while, yes, we criticize them, and rightly so, they individually could make things happen. Now, again, between Kolo Muani and Dembele, they aren't that type of player. They are relying on room in behind. They are relying on their speed yet again. So once AC Milan figure that out, then all of a sudden there's not a whole lot else happening, and the game just kind of fizzled.
What's inexcusable, though, going back to Mbappe for a second, is that we saw this sort of attitude against Newcastle at Newcastle. It was this, once it got tough, once the other team grew in confidence, once it felt like the game was getting out of control, and this is a moment in which you need your superstar to say, hold on a second, give me the ball, I'll figure it out. Nah, all too comfortable. I'll just be over here, guys. If you need me, just give me the ball, and I'll settle for pass back and not taking players on, not really participating in the play. So you're seeing it, that is a pattern, that is a trend. When it gets difficult for his team or for him individually, his reaction is to say, not today, guys. That is concerning.
If he can do that for France in World Cups, and I know he's won the World Cup, but they got to the final almost despite him last time out. Because in that game against England, he didn't track back at all. Right? Luckily for him, Harry Kane missed a penalty. Other things unfolded. But if he... And Julien Laurens has touched on this. Didier Deschamps knows and is prepared to accept his lack of desire to chase back, and that really put them in. That was really part of the problem that put them in the predicament in the final against Argentina, and it's why Olivier Giroud, a Trojan of a guy who hasn't got an ounce of Mbappe's talent, but is just out there grinding it. Which is why he had to be dragged off, and why they had to change the shape of the side. So listen, if he can do it in his national team when he doesn't fancy it, he's certainly going to do it in this club side.
Last word to you, Frank.
Yeah, the thing is, I would like to say that I understand the coaches who decide that, Mbappe is like that, so I know Deschamps, Luis Enrique, I cannot do anything about that. But his teammates, I would have been Skriniar, I would have been the captain, Marquinhos. I think I can go for a fight in the dressing room with him. I say, you don't respect me, so why do you want me to respect you? The three at front, when you lose the ball, you come back. There is an action second half where Mbappe loses the ball, and he realized like 5 seconds after, we can see his face on TV, where he turns and there is already a counter-attack. He doesn't care. I would have been that. I would have seen Craig Burley or Zola or Marcus or Vialli not doing that. I can tell you, I would have fought against Craig Burley in the dressing room for disrespecting me. That's what I don't understand from the other player. That's what I don't understand from the experienced players, not saying to somebody with such a talent like Mbappe, not doing that. I play with Zinedine Zidane. I've seen Zinedine Zidane losing the ball, fighting back to get the ball back. Zinedine Zidane. I saw Zola. I saw Marcus. I saw Vialli doing that. Why those players at front who think they're better than the others and think that the defenders have to serve them, don't think that they can't run back? That's unacceptable for me.
I would have knocked Frank's teeth out. Well, and then I could have laughed at him. But just to finish what Shaq was saying, with that, notwithstanding all that, you've got to credit Milan defended brilliantly. But you just expect him to do more.
Right.
But they did an amazing job.